So we got the 100-year athlete series going on. We got James Dumas or Dumbass,
Dumbass, yeah. You have two S's, one S.
depending on the day.
Yeah.
And super interesting story. Just kind of want to talk about taking it from the top of what are we doing right now, what'd you do in the past athletically, and then what's on the horizon for you. And the whole purpose behind this is just to share stories of people that are older athletes, so 40 plus. You don't even have to be old. You're on the fence.
Yeah, I'm on the fence.
Like athletics don't need to end just because you're out of high school, just because you're out of college, just because you're 50. You can keep going. You can keep doing cool stuff, but you just need to approach it slightly differently. So learning, like people that are still doing cool things, what are you doing it? What are you doing? How are you doing it? And then how can you train today with the next 10 years in mind? So we want to perform well. We want to get after it in the mountains. We also want to be able to do this 10 years from now. So that's kind of the whole lens for the conversation, and tell the people about yourself.
Should I start at the beginning? Sort of quickly.
Yeah.
New York.
Well, what do you do now? Like,
what do I do now?
In terms of athletics, what are you doing
athletics,
right now? Or mountain sports, like enjoying the mountains.
God,
that's kind of the point.
I could live in snow 13 months a year. So my mind is always there and always looking. So avid sort of ski mountaineer. Ride in the non-snow months up here in Park City, ride as much as I can, road, mountain, gravel, and get in the gym with you. As you know, I've been coming back from a beat up body.
There's a story there.
There's lots of stories. But I mean, since meeting you, and it's sort of solidified this fight that I was having as a kid. I grew up in New York, played Division I football, had I was the oldest of four, all boys. We all played Division I. Father, Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Right?
Football family.
Football family. He played for Notre Dame football. That's where we were going. And when I was in high school, I read a book from Maffetone, who's the guru of Zone 2 training.
Way back then.
Way back then.
Nice.
And he got laughed out.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
his claim to fame was, who's a triathlete? Richard Allen, right? So he's the one that's winning all the triathlons.
Currently.
The Ironman, who has.
Yeah, okay,
right? Yeah. Set the records and did everything. And he was always on that zone too. And then on the other side, you come home and it's no pain, no gain.
Yeah.
Right?
So you like had both going on.
Both going on.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I did the CrossFit thing.
Yeah.
I love the intensity of it, but until you came in and you helped me back with that quad tendon rupture, you're like, dude, CrossFit is eliminated from your vocabulary.
We had to take it out. It wasn't working for us.
It wasn't working for me, right?
Yeah.
And
we should bump that down a little bit.
What really resonated for me was that switch, that paradigm shift for me was get into the gym 2 days a week, focus on just building the muscles and the connective tissues, and then go play and hit it hard in the mountains.
I think like the biggest switch we made with James was his mindset was like, gotta work hard if I want to keep doing stuff. And like I've been there myself, and it backfired for me as well. In a different way, but use your gym time to make your body work better so that you can train harder and play harder when you're actually doing the thing. So the gym's the tool to do the thing, the gym's not the point.
Yeah.
And I think like that kind of worked pretty well with you. And since we met like 4 years ago, 5 years ago?
It was, I think 2016, 17 was the first.
I got here in 17.
Yeah, it's 2017.
Yeah.
So 6 years.
Like James said, he could live in snow 13 months out of the year. It's June 30th, and there are ski boots and gloves.
Oh, it's ready to go.
Ready to go.
I'll get
by the
July. I'll
front
get July.
door.
I'll definitely get July here.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the Andes for August
For
and
August.
September.
That's badass.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about that a little bit. Actually, let's go through the injuries quickly, because we could spend an hour on James's injuries, but fully disconnected the quad group from the knee. I think that's pretty much accurately describes that. How many knee surgeries later on just that knee?
This one here is 4.
What about the?
And well, the other ones are more cleanup.
Yeah.
But I've had 4 over there. I've had as many orthopedic surgeries as if I've opened up restaurants.
How many is that?
14.
14 orthopedic
No, it's crazy.
surgeries.
But I mean, it's, I say that because just as far as balance, right? So with the restaurants and that world, it's you're running at high speed all the time, right? So here I am running at high speed for my profession, and then I'm thinking I got to run at high speed for the workouts, and everything explodes, right?
Yeah.
Personal life explodes, body explodes, right?
Yeah.
There's a crater.
Yeah, there's
right?
carryover there.
Carryover.
One thing for professionals that are also athletes, so professionals as in like working professionals, this is something I talk to people about a lot. If you are grinding, if you have like 4 or 5 days where you just hammer and work hard, that's a stressor on the body. That impacts your ability to recover, that impacts your knees, it impacts your muscle, it impacts everything with your physical body. And oftentimes you're like, I just got done with this like 4 days of hell with work, so I'm gonna go hammer, just blow some steam, exercise some demons. That is a terrible approach, because that is when you're most primed to explode, because your body's already fatigued, everything's brought down. So if you can flip that, and this is a lot of what we teach people, is okay, you just grinded for 4 days, let's go out for zone 2, let's go out for a recovery workout, let's go out for a hike, let's go enjoy the mountains in a relaxing, restorative fashion. Eat really well that day, sleep really well, drink plenty of water, and then rage the next day. And you can prevent that knee explosion that was going to come if you kind of flip.
Yeah, I mean, mine happened just
on a hike.
On a hike.
Yeah.
Right?
You were just
slipped on scree. I had just gotten out of the gym. Like, we come out of the surgery. I was, 8 months out of the surgery, but it wasn't quite, the flexion wasn't there.
Yeah.
Slipped on scree. I had done, I think we were doing forward lunges the day before. CrossFit, right?
Yeah.
Not your fit.
Yeah.
And I was fatigued, and man, it was like a gunshot.
It was loud.
Loud.
You'd hear it.
3,000 feet away from the car.
Yeah. So how old were you when that happened?
I'm 63 now, so 55.
55 when it happened.
Yeah.
So a full knee explosion, and then let's talk a little bit about, like, let's brag a bit. How do you ski? Like, you get after it. Like, we're doing alpine skiing. You're touring.
I mean, I met you, and I said I had a trip. We had a trip planned to the Arctic. It was a 2-year plan, pre-planned to get there. I was going.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I was.
I was nervous about you going.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure this was going to work out.
Well, the hardest thing was getting in and out of the Zodiac.
Yeah.
Right. That was the hardest thing.
Let's talk about the trip a little bit, because it's a sweet trip.
Yeah. So it was up in the Norwegian archipelago, which is called Svalbard. So it's the northernmost airport in the world, which was really cool. And NATO to this day still owns it, because during World War II, any at-war country, if they occupied that airport, could have hit all the North American continents from that airport.
Yeah.
So it sits up at the 75th parallel. We rented a 80-foot schooner. 8 of us had rifles for polar bears. They would count munition out, and they'd count it in. And if one was missing, you'd have to explain where it was. You know, you weren't just up there with
a
rifle shoot. Yeah, but
so you're touring with a
rifle.
You're
touring. Oh yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, a front and a back. And we made it to like the 83rd or 85th. We wanted to skin up to the North Pole, but we got iced out, but it's still fascinating.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Fascinating.
So you guys are bouncing around on,
and this
basically
is
a boat.
The surgery was in November, and we were May. So I hobbled in. I was 2 months non-weight bearing.
Yeah.
Right. So December, January, and you had 5 months
Yeah.
to.
You got it done. You brought back
You got it. Yeah.
I remember it.
Yeah.
So how much vert are you guys doing with that?
On
On
a day, I mean, we were like 5 to 6.
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't, but yeah, it was a plush trip. We had the Zodiacs, we had this boat, we had awesome food.
Yeah.
Right? So it was balanced.
Yeah, it was nice.
It wasn't charted, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we were hitting a lot of, because the ice cap's melting so fast that we were hitting peaks, and it's just, it has this prominence of 4,000 feet right out of the Arctic Ocean.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
So you're skiing from the summit, basically.
Right to the
into a
zone.
boat.
We'd go up one side, the boat would come around, and
Yeah.
we'd do laps. They'd pick us up, and
That's pretty cool.
really cool. Never saw a polar bear.
That's probably good.
Only remnants.
Only remnants. So the front man and the back man would have a rifle.
Mm-hmm.
Were you ever the front man or the back man?
No, but I was always, I'd be, because I was going pretty, I was nursing back, so I was hanging towards the back, not trying to push it. And I remember this one, do you remember the Super Bowl commercials with the Coca-Cola? I was always around the holiday with the polar bears.
Yeah, back in the day.
Slide down, right?
Yeah.
Through these gullies. So here we are through the gully, and I'm like, all I can do is visualize these polar bears coming in for lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was great.
Good.
So.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the body, right? It's.
Yeah.
Well, I think I mentioned the other day, right? You were funny. You long and wind me. I said, hey, you had 2 days worked out for me, and I'm coming back from this. Had surgery 3 weeks ago on the other knee.
This is current.
Current. Yeah.
And I actually want to mention that a bit. James just got another cleanup in his knee because it wasn't feeling quite right. Went and saw the doctor. Advocated for himself because the doc was like,
Arthritis.
Yeah.
This is what you got.
Nah, this is something different because you know your body pretty well at this point. And then mad props. You continued to stay in the gym and keep the habit, keep doing stuff, like into it, after it. You were there like in the gym like 2 days later, and we adjusted what we were doing. And then it was easy to drop back in.
Yeah, we went upper body and core for 3
weeks.
3 weeks, and then.
And now we're back to kind of full body and moving pretty well, which is cool. So when you're going through some sort of injury, surgery, whatever, unless it's like a pretty unique surgery, you can train throughout. I think that's an important message for people.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah. And so with the cycling, how has that helped?
So for me, it's endurance, right? And I want to sort of touch on my zone 2, the way I understand it, and been following it, and it's what I call the Etch-a-Sketch. So I use that in the restaurant as well, and you see a lot of it's a tough business. 8 out of 10 restaurants blow up, right? And I've had 14. I mean, I've had some blow-ups.
Yeah, how many blew up? A couple.
A couple blown up. Self-imploded. But I have this thing that I call this mental Etch-a-Sketch, and that's how I found touring. I found touring over in Switzerland. Right?
Okay.
So it's when I was over there working in the restaurants. And the same thing in the kitchen. No matter how good or bad you are that night, you have to let it go. Right, so if you're really good, you're amped up. You've been working. Your adrenaline's high, and it's going down the throat. It's going up the nose. It's going in the arm. Right. I mean, I've seen it all. Yeah. Right.
It's a
I've
wild
seen
industry.
Right. Yeah. It's where you just have to try to stay centered. And then same thing if you have a shitty night. The same thing happens because you want to run away from those issues.
Yeah.
So I would get out early in the morning. That was my discipline and motivator to not go out to the bars, to get home, unwind, get some sleep, get up early.
Because you're going to
go tour.
Yeah.
Right?
So use that to keep you on the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah. And ish. And then the zone 2, what I found is, everybody you always want to push. That's how we've been. That's how we've been hardwired, right? You got to go. You got to go. You got to go. What I started seeing was, I'm out there doing zone 2, and I do. They call it when people come out with me, I do the Eurozag. I'm doing the Z, right? And we're passing people.
Passing people that are going straight up in the Wasatch.
They're going straight up. They do this. They're doing the zone 4, zone 5. They're going to get to the top, and here we come, and
Yeah.
we pass, or we're at zone 2. So I'm always looking, not so much the time in zone 2, but the distance and vert climbed.
That's what's interesting to you.
And I use that as this motivator. Okay, so next week I go out, if it took me an hour to climb 1,000 feet or meters, right? I'm going to do that in 50 minutes at zone 2.
And keep it the same heart rate.
Keep heart rate.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you find out you're going.
Yeah. How has that helped you, like, on the performance side of things, when you're like, I really want to get after it?
I'm not as beat up.
Not as beat up.
Yeah, and I don't have to spend 3 days to recover.
Yeah. So you can get out more often.
Get out more
by
often.
keeping it kind of in that zone 2 area. And then cycling is mostly to support your white powder habit.
Yeah. Cardio. Yeah.
How's it been for your knees? Because
it's been good. Well, I mean, the other day,
knees are kind of a disaster.
Yeah, they're this one here, the one with the quad tendon, is finally starting to feel
good,
really good.
Sick.
Yeah, and now we're just working.
Do you think the cycling, like, just from, because you cycle quite a bit, does that feel like it's helping your knees, like, maintain so you can continue to?
Yeah, it's the motion.
Yeah.
Right? It's that constant motion.
Motion is lotion.
Motion is lotion. Yeah.
That's cool. So with where you're at now, and you said you're 62? 63?
63.
Looking back to, like, the football days and then post-football days, is there anything you'd tell your younger self, like, hey, maybe chill out, or something that you would have incorporated, like a bit of wisdom for the 40-year-old?
Yeah, I would, the wisdom would be, look at the whole thing and look what everybody's saying, right? I mean, I'm not an advocate of plant-based, but I played at 230, 240 pounds.
You're a big dude.
That's what I played, right? It was too much for my frame, right? But they're just, so the way you eat, the sleep, it's the basics. It's not a race, right?
Yeah.
It's this marathon if you want to continue to do it.
Yeah.
I have, part of this in the due diligence and the self-diagnostic, I have chronic Lyme disease, and thankfully, the variety that I have loves soft tissue instead of neuro, because there's people out there that get whacked out with the neuro. Mine goes after, when it wakes up, it goes after the soft tissue. So I started breaking down. I got bit, and I think I had it in the 70s and 80s. So playing ball, I had it. Never knew I had it.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly stressing. I'm anaerobic, right? Your blood is acidic versus alkali. Like the whole thing is just out of whack, and things would break.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Picking somebody, like helping somebody up, my bicep tendon pulled off the bone. Like, I'm like, what? And he wasn't like, right? It's just,
he wasn't 400 pounds.
No, it was like pulling out a weed, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, right?
Yeah.
And it's just so, like, listening to that, I would say just, try to, when you're in the gym or as everybody says, it's the time out of the gym that's more important.
Yeah.
Right?
So
how
it's
you
easy.
Sleeping, how you fueling, how you're resting.
It's easy to ignore that when you're young enough to get away with it, but there are consequences for ignoring it.
Yeah.
And
they're
usually felt downstream.
Yeah.
Not immediately. Gangster. And then for the way you're training now, you're training with us, so I kind of know, like, some of your mentality.
Just there was 2 sound bites. I mean, we don't talk a lot. They're sound bites. I mean, I come in and
you come in, you
get
right? After it. Yeah. What are the 2 sound bites?
Well, the sound bites were, oh man, I think I'm starting to feel good. I want to trail. I'm jonesing a trail run.
I forgot about this. Yeah.
Right. And you looked at me, and I think you said, yeah, go on an epic hike instead. I'm like, yeah, that sounds all. And the whole body just relaxed, right, when I said that.
Because you knew it was a bad idea.
It was a bad idea. Yeah. I mean,
how tall are you?
6'2".
6'2". You're like 200
195, 205. Yeah.
With 8 knee surgeries. And so our choices athletically definitely impact our staying power in the mountains. If you decide to go run a lot this summer, that's fine, and you can do that. But where's your priority? Would you rather?
And then it's just gonna infringe on my touring.
It's gonna mess up skiing, or it has the potential to. And then we all have a reality of injury to tissue, if you've gotten after it at all, whether mountains, high school sports, college sports. So knowing your knee history, like, that's maybe not the best move. Go for big bike rides, go for big hikes. It's way, you can still get out, but making choices, thinking about next season, next year, 10 years from now. And I think, like, epic hikes is probably the move for you.
And then the other one was, you let me, I was so, like, finally the legs, right, with that, we're doing that monkey foot, right, isolating the quad. We haven't really loaded a lot of weight isolated like that. We've tried with the bands,
but it's harder.
But it's a lot harder now. It felt so good, and I was like, kid in the candy store. I was like, hey, can I come in on a Friday and add an extra leg? And then you were like, yeah. And then just yesterday, when we're setting this up, I said, we planned Friday today, and I said, I'm going to start coming in on kin stretch on Friday. And you sort of just looked at me and I said, it's the flexibility that's my limiting factor right now. Right? And it's just so
spending time working to make the body work better. You got to do both. You got to work to make the body work better, and you got to work to drive performance. And if you only do one, you're not going to perform well. And if you only work for performance, you're going to explode. So kind of finding that balance.
Keep it balanced. I mean, it really is the advice, right? It's this Venn diagram, and that,
do cool shit. Make shit work really well. Be there next year. Like, all of it, kind of, you gotta find that balance.
Japanese call it ikigai.
Ikigai,
and that center is just that sweet spot of where you want to be, and all these other factors are.
You can't take any one to the extreme. You can, but you got to visit it and get back out of it. And there's definite times to do that. So you're 63. My biggest thing is I want to do cool shit till I'm dead, and I'm assuming I'm going to live till I'm 100 because it's 2023. So you're 63. What's your mentality to make sure you're still touring, you're still gravel biking when you're 73? So, like, do you think about that as you're playing in the mountains, as you're training, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I do, and I want to be doing that same stuff and getting after it. Right? Not just
like riding the chair up, skiing down a green. You want to, like. So what's that look like? What are you consciously doing now to help? Because, like, it's easy to think about, what am I doing now to enjoy the mountains? Like, you went on that cool trip to Norway, you're going to Peru or wherever you just said you're going to go in August so you can get some turns in. Like, that's dope. So that's the enjoyment, that's the performance. What are you doing consciously to make sure you're still there in 10 years? What are those things?
It's going to be, I mean, everything we've talked about, right? It's the diet, it's the sleep, it's getting in the gym, it's keeping it balanced, and checking in. I'm really good when I'm by myself, but it's having to be accountable, right? To a coach, to.
I think the community is huge on that. If you're 63 and your main partners that you get out with are like the 25-year-old kids that are your line cooks or whatever in your restaurant, that's awesome. Get pushed, get challenged, but it's probably, you're not going to have the conversations or the accountability of, like, dude, you just did 15,000 feet yesterday. What are you doing? Like, staying up all night. Like,
so I love to teach, right? I taught skiing and guiding. And I love that, right? So when I go, and I love the enthusiasm of the youngers and also the heart rate, right? So it's like I can
just get them all psyched.
I can get away a lot with technique, right? I mean, you saw it when we go out. It's in the technique, the younger ones get the technique really quick.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, it's just that excitement of getting them in and getting them hooked to something new, showing them how they can be safe, but then making sure they go out and they get their AVI course and they understand the ramifications of getting out there.
Totally. You remember the first time you took me out? It was like May.
I think there was a test run for the trip, right?
It was a test run for your knee, but we went up Devil's Castle. We met at like 4:30 in the morning at Dan's down in Foothill. And then we go up and it's still fully iced over.
Oh yeah.
I've never put skins on. And we get up to just above Secret Lake and
that little gully.
Yeah, it was just full ice and you're like, shit.
Did I give you a crampon?
Yeah, I had one crampon, you had one of the others. And then we got up to the top, we got up above that and I was like, that would have been like pretty messed up if I fell, right? And you were like, yeah, but you're a rock climber. I figured you'd be fine. I was like, sick. So,
well, you had the balance, right? I mean, you can and it's all it's crazy how much the core is and that fulcrum just with your foot and the ski and the skin, right? If you're here.
Yeah. I was definitely using my arms a lot that day. I'm just like trying to figure it out. But, so I think like kind of wrap things up a bit. You went hard in your youth. Mm-hmm. And then 40s through 60s, your body kind of realized that a little bit, and some of the knee injuries, and I'm sure there's some other injuries that we
head to toe. The operation, the game operation.
Yeah, just kind of everywhere.
No bones.
Yeah, that's good. So when you go hard like that in your youth, your body is going to have consequences downstream, but those haven't kept you from doing the things you want to do. You've stayed after, you've stayed diligent, you've found people like me, you've found really good PTs, really good body workers, you've dove into nutrition, you've figured out how to manage some chronic disease states with the Lyme, and then now you're just leaning hard into what we know about keeping things working, which is getting that zone 2, doing some joint work, making sure you're still staying focused on sleep, nutrition, all that kind of thing, and then
pushing it smartly,
it intelligently is really important. And that's where go for a really hard hike instead of trail running for you. And it's like you can get a very similar experience
without
there.
a doubt,
but you're not going to have those same like physical consequences from hard hikes versus hard trail runs. Any parting words of advice for the 40-year-old?
Keep it balanced.
Keep it balanced.
Keep it balanced. Keep it fun.
Yeah, love that. Well, thank you.
Thank you
for taking the time.
Yeah,
that was perfect, dude.
Right on.
Oh my God!
We moved. And it's